That's really
too.
doable.
Yeah. And then for the VAs, and since we just had our
Right. I wanted you to talk about VA.
Veterans Day just recently happened, and we've got the VAs that we need to address as well, where a VA can buy a home with 0% down as well.
Oh, wow.
So if you've got your eligibility certificate
Right.
from Department of Defense, and you can just basically buy a home with 0% down, or even cash out your
That's
100% of your home's equity. So the veterans have a lot of programs and availability out there for them, and the qualifications are a lot easier as well for a veteran. So whereas we would require certain debt to income ratios, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well, but whereas a veteran would have higher debt to income ratio allocations as well. And then we talked about the 203K, which is a great product too, because that's part of the FHA programs, and basically allows you to buy a home where you can fix up and live into it and build equity essentially as well at the same time. And those are the programs that I really wanted to focus on as far as the first-time home buyer programs. Really would encourage everybody to ask their banker, bank, broker, whoever they're dealing with. Hopefully they'll start dealing with bankers.
Right.
But they should encourage them to speak about all these programs before they decide on a product as far as buying a home. So.
What does someone do if this is kind of a random question, but my parents they've built 2 houses now, and they just built their second one. And what kind of program is that? Like, is that common here in Southern California?
Construction
loans.
So
okay.
I'm assuming they bought land and they built upon it. Yeah, that's a construction loan. That's a very sophisticated loan product. So it requires for people to have expertise in construction, and that's not the same as a 203K.
Right.
You'd have to have expertise in developing a property,
Got it.
and or if. And again, did they buy this properties as speculative? They bought it to rent it out. Is that what they're doing, or are they going to live?
No, they've done it twice now. They sold the one that they built years ago, and now they have built, or they're almost done building this new one. And my dad is from the construction industry, so
there you go.
So so it is a sophisticated loan program, and we require for people to understand and know how to do construction at that point in time. And there you said it. He's from the construction background.
Yeah.
So.
What about for like if someone is buying a home that's like basically a tear down? Do they have to tear down and just redo? Is it the same thing?
It's a construction
they would have to
loan
have
as well,
a construction loan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the 203K.
The 203K loan, as long as there is a footprint, which means the foundation is still there, then that home can be rebuilt. And you'll find that when there's fire damage to a home, sometimes they will use the 203K as a part of that process. Yeah, so as long as it has a footprint, the original footprint is still there, you can rebuild the home.
So it can't be just raw land.
No, it can't be raw land.
Okay.
There had to be a house built on that property where you're building it, and the foundation of that home has to still be there for you to build on that and call it renovation. Yeah. Other than that, it's new construction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are construction loans through the FHA world as well. And again, it's a lot more of a sophisticated loan than it is on the 203K.
Right.
So, but yeah, I would say my favorite loan types are the college FA, the FHA VA, just because there's a sense of gratification that we get out of putting people into homes, and help guiding them into their path of building equity and or appreciation in their properties, and hopefully they buy in the right areas, and that will actually yield to a higher appreciation value to them as well too. So that's what I personally am encouraging at Archstone Financial, just because I like to see people buying homes. I mean, everyone in the new generations really are really not focused, and they don't see that. And it's really important. I personally bought my first home at 21, and I have reaped the benefits of it. I think everybody should be educated at a younger age. I think as education should be available at college levels, which I never got, but thankfully I was
for
working
shows like this to help with that process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's really effective to disseminate this information to the public. And a lot of people don't know there's a 0% down payment.
That's right.
Basically.
Yeah. So imagine that you're coming out of college, you've got your, brand new job, and you've been there for a significant amount of time. And, you might feel like, oh, I can't afford to buy a house. There are options available that you may not know about because they're just not talked about in general, and I don't know of a class in school that you can take to learn this stuff. You have to come to a professional to sit down with them and find out what your options are. And there's so many options out there that are available that it should be encouraging. So I don't want the millennials to feel like they're without hope to be able to purchase a home like their parents did and grandparents did, because there are programs that are going to make it a lot more feasible for them to do that,
Well, and I like the breakdown that you've given too, because it's not even just not being, because it's one thing to not really know about an industry or not be educated in it. Fine, go talk to a professional. But it's also, it can be intimidating to even be like, I don't even know what to ask them. I don't want to sound like an idiot.
Exactly.
Or like, I don't even know if I'm close to being able to, get any product.
Correct. So, and there's an interesting piece, and the credit is an interesting piece that I've experienced throughout my career, is the guilt, the shame piece that comes about. People go, oh, I'm embarrassed. It's like, we've got to deal with it.
Yeah, let's
let's
deal
bring
with
it out to the surface. Let's fix it. It's all doable. It's with the right guidance, and with a little bit of time, it will be fixed. So yes, we've all encountered hardships. We've all encountered times in our lives where things have happened, and not everyone's perfect. So you gotta take that step, and the shame has to be left behind, so you can move forward, basically, because otherwise you're stuck at one spot, essentially. So, and credit is not something that it's not repairable. You can always repair.
I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit, because I think that's where people get stuck. They may make mistakes, or like you said, life happens, and they feel like, okay, so I have bad credit, I will never be able to buy a house. And that's not true. That's simply a myth. It's not true. Credit can be, like Marty said, look at it, deal with it for what it is, and make the changes that need to be made, and you can, at the end of that scenario, purchase a home. It's not hopeless. It's never hopeless.
And just recently, we came out of a huge economic event in the country, and everybody got affected from it. I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people got affected from it. And you look at credit and you go, okay, well, you've had some life challenges, but we understand, and a lot of people had the life challenges, not exclusive to you. So there's programs that are forgiving to them. So we call them extenuating circumstances. So we had a situation just recently where a lot of layoffs happened, and you were not employed. So therefore, it's not that you just decided to walk away from a property. You simply were unemployed. So therefore you could not make your payments. So we have made adjustments to guidelines that says, okay, well, if you can show us that you were unemployed for the last 6 months and your income dropped for the last 20% or more, then we'll put you in that bucket of extenuating circumstances, and we'll overlook the timelines that we require for other people to have that were irresponsible, basically, and decided not to make their payments just because they decided not to make their payments. So yes, so there are situations where we do make concessions for people as well too, and that's that's common in the FHA world at the moment. So let's say if somebody had a foreclosure or a short sale, and there was an extenuating circumstance, we would require that we would wait for them to make their payments or rent payments on time for the last year, and they would be able to buy a property.
Oh wow!
Yes.
So. Whereas really nice. Also, if you're currently in bankruptcy, if you're reorganizing your finances, and you may have gone to the bankruptcy courts and said, I want to file Chapter 13, which is reorganization of your finances, we will give you a loan while you are while you're going through bankruptcy, basically.
Wow.
So there
Chapter
are situations
13,
like that, and this is a guilt or shame and things of that nature that people bring upon themselves and think that they cannot buy a property, but they really could, basically. And it's always, I'm always looking forward. I'm a very, future-looking individual, and don't want to use the word visionary, but I do.
And optimism.
I am a visionary.
No. Visionary extraordinaire.
But you really do have to look forward in life and not get stuck, because there's so many obstacles that life brings upon us that we really have to, get over, essentially.
Well, and that's why people get trained to become experts in these fields. And like you were saying earlier about, there really is like you just hosted a credit seminar
exactly
recently, and one of the things that I was really surprised to hear that puts not that I ever plan on defaulting on my student loans, for the record,
right.
But student loans was going back to school for me was really scary, just because I'm like, God, student loans,
right?
Like, that's intimidating. Like, I have to pay them
no
matter what. But Eric, the guy that that spoke, was talking about even people that have defaulted on student loans. Like, there's rehabilitation programs for those people, and your credit can recover from that.
Right.
And it just takes talking to an expert, finding out what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because in most cases you don't get into credit trouble all in one day. I mean, not that day that whatever happened to you, that experience may start it, but it took time for it to get to a space where you feel, like Marty said, ashamed or like there's no hope. But with that being said, there's always, when you are recovering from it, it takes time too, but it's possible. And that's the thing that I want us to walk away with and understanding, is that no matter what your credit situation is, the first thing you need to do is run that credit report, like Marty said, and take a look at your credit and see what's there. And you might be pleasantly surprised. It may not be as bad as you think. I think we make things worse in our own mind than they actually are. And you sit down with someone who is a professional and let them walk you through the steps that you need to take, if you need that, to get back on track. So that you can purchase a home, so that you do have the hope to purchase, because that's what these programs were created for, so that you do have an opportunity to do what you see everyone else do, or what you aspire to do, which is home ownership.
And it's
because
also
it's empowering.
Confidential.
And it's completely confidential.
Yeah, so
that's the other part. You're not sharing the information with the world. You're sharing it with one individual professional who is going to keep that information. They're not going to tell anyone.
Just like the health industry. I mean, we've got...
it's confidentiality.
We've got banking rules and regulations that we have to deal with as well.
Exactly.
And a lot of that information is private and personal and doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
But my advice would be do it and do it now, obviously.
Do it and do it now.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Do it and do it now is the way to go.
Well, that's really cool. So we could potentially say, I don't want to put words in you guys' mouth, that no matter what the credit situation is, give it some time and talking to some experts, and really just about anybody, and no matter where they are, can eventually buy a home.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, I'm just going to throw one last example out there is somebody can have a 500 credit score, as low as a 500 credit score, and still buy a home, because there are programs for a lot of these individuals.
Right. Wow.
So there are. Sit down with someone, pull your credit, be aware, knowledge is power. Know what your credit is basically like, and sit down with a person that actually knows what they're doing. And obviously, in our case, you can reach out to anybody at Archstone Financial. I'm Mardi Kari. Charline Sistrunk obviously is a part of Archstone Financial as well too, and make sure that you get proper information and proper advice.
Exactly. Yeah, yes. That's what I would say. Reach out to one of the professionals. And I chose to sit down with Marty today because being in the industry as long as I have been, and working with different people, I respect the company. And I respect the values that are set there, and I respect the leadership in that company. So when you work for a company, it's just as important as when you come to a company to purchase a home. You have to have that credible company behind you. And that's how I feel about Archstone Financial. So for those of you who are first-time home buyers, I would say sit down with a professional. You can choose a professional, get someone that you were referred to by a family member. But if you don't have someone like that, check out Archstone Financial. We can sit down with you and go through the steps that's necessary for a first-time home buyer to get to the space where they are purchasing that home, where we can send you off with that certificate saying that you are eligible to buy a home, and you can meet with a realtor and go from there.
So exciting.
It's so exciting. I'm impressed, aren't you?
I am.
I am. I'm excited.
Definitely. Well, you gave hope. So Marty, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
And giving hope to those who want to purchase homes.
Yeah.
This was a great
Homes
episode.
for all.
Yes. Homes for all.
Homes for all.
This is really great.